Welcome to another episode of Burf and Greavesie. You might have noticed I've forgotten my glasses today, but it doesn't matter because I've got a visionary character next to me. He's known as the Oracle. He can tell the future. He can look deep into the future. It's Frankie Greaves. Frank, how are you?
I'm very good, Burfie. Thank you very much.
Good. Glad you are, mate. Now, we've got an amazing show coming up on the 22nd of November. It's got to be the only turkey that delivers for Christmas. Yeah, the Sheikh's done it again, hasn't he? What a fantastic card. Night of Champions is. And obviously a lot of British interest on that card as well. I'm going to go to the top of the shop. Obviously, Yarde versus Benavidez. Now, you and Anthony Yarde have obviously got a history. You worked in the corner when he fought Kovalev.
Yeah.
So you really have got close to Anthony in the way that he works and the way that his corner works. What's your assessment of him? He's an unusual fighter, isn't he? He's fought some great fighters, and then for most of his career, fought fighters you wouldn't even recognise or know of.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest issue in Yarde's career probably has been the lack of depth of opposition. You know, look, he's clearly very physically gifted, punches hard, decent chin, heart of a lion. But he's just, for me, he's just lacking in that little bit of know-how. He's learnt on the job, didn't have an amateur career at all. And sometimes those slightly tougher fights let you learn a little bit about yourself. And he's not had that. Ultimately, he's been in with three very, very, very good fighters in Kovalev, Benavidez, and Lyndon Arthur, and lost all three of them. Obviously, he's avenged the Arthur defeat and beat him twice since. But yeah, it's a shame for me because I think had he had slightly tougher matches, he'd have achieved more.
I hear what you're saying, but it's interesting, isn't it, that when you think about the fights that he's had and being thrown in incredibly deep after fighting, you know, good fighters, of course they're good fighters, but not world-class type fighters, or even guys on the fringes are world-class.
Yeah.
And then in fairness to him, he has done well when he's been chucked in. You only have to look at the lad to see he's genetically a very gifted guy.
Absolutely.
He's got some fantastic moves.
Yep.
I think he turned up at the right coach.
Yep.
He was genetically set up for the right coach because obviously they do a lot of volume stuff, and that lad would have the issue he would have would be volume, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So the fact he's throwing a lot of shots. The question I would have in the Benavidez fight is the same thing Andre Ward said recently when he had an interview with Joe Calzaghe. And he said, Joe, I don't think I'd appreciate the volume. And I think that's where he might come unstuck in this one because Benavidez does throw a lot.
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, look, for me, the unknown in this fight is Benavidez was a massive guy at 168, massive guy at super middle, massive physical advantages over most of the people that he's in with, bigger, physically stronger. I think we saw him uncomfortable in a Vosdik fight a few times, where he didn't quite have those physical gifts and advantages. And Yarde is a very, very, very physically strong light heavyweight. So I don't think he's going to get bullied, and I think potentially for me, Benavidez is going to have to be a little bit more circumspect about the way he pulls forward. But yeah, I think he probably just outworks him. I don't think he stops Yarde. No,
I mean, I'd go along with that. But ultimately, you've got to think to yourself that Yarde at 34, you know, I've seen him sometimes, he looks a tiny bit reticent when he's in there against those top-end guys, which is understandable because of that lack of experience.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if this time it might be the one where he actually turns up and really goes for it.
Yeah.
Much as he did in the second fight against Lyndon Arthur. It was a different attitude, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't circumspect at all. That he's kind of like, I'm the governor, I'm turning up, I'm going to do it. Now, Benavidez is an interesting guy as well.
Yep.
He only had 15 fights as an amateur.
Yep.
And you know, I'm very good. I've got a very good talent. I can always tell when a boxer walks in here, I can always say to him, I bet you were a fat kid. And Benavidez was a fat kid, wasn't he?
He was a fat kid, he was.
Very strong kid, no doubt about it. But ultimately, he's had a few issues with like drugs-related stuff during his career.
Mate, I think the other thing that's really interesting in this fight is, again, obviously, the Lyndon Arthur reverse aside, which he did come back and avenge in very good fashion. The two guys that have beaten Yarde have been massive punchers, obviously, in Kovalev and Benavidez. Now, again, you know, Benavidez is a decent puncher. He's got a lot of knockouts, a lot of stoppages on his record, but he's not a one-punch knockout merchant. And I'm really interested to see whether he can discourage Yarde, whether he punches hard enough at light heavy to really make a dent.
Is age a factor in this?
No, I don't think so. I think Andy...
Yarde's a young 34.
Yeah, he's a young 34. He ain't got any miles on the clock, aside from those 2 reverses. I mean, even the Lyndon Arthur defeat wasn't really damaging.
Well, he hasn't got really any true miles on the clock, has he, when you think about it?
Only the Kovalev fight, obviously, in a better BF fight where
no,
he was
tough
on his
fights,
feet.
but you think about that from the expanse of someone's career.
Yeah,
he's had 2 tough fights.
Yeah, that's
in
it.
those tough fights, he's only had 2 or 3 tough rounds.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
correct.
I know, obviously, things can go very wrong very quick.
Yeah.
But I think he's still very fresh.
No, I'll do.
I'm going to say something crazy, Frank. I know you're thinking Benavidez points, aren't you?
I'm actually not. No, I'm going for the upset. I'm going for Yarde.
You're going for Yarde?
I am going for Yarde.
I can't believe it. I'm going to agree with the Oracle. How are you going to go, though, mate? What happens?
I am actually going to go Yarde by stoppage. I'm going to go Yarde by stoppage. I think it's a big step. You know, we've seen it before. These guys that have massive physical advantages going up a division, expecting to be the boss physically, and it just doesn't work out that way. I think this is by far the toughest fight for Benavidez out there that isn't Benavidez or Bivol.
Bivol, yeah. Do you know something? I'm going to go a little bit different from you, and this will be controversial, and everyone will say, well, that doesn't add up, but I do think Yarde does him on points. After possibly getting him on the floor, and also having a couple of wobbly moments himself, because he's that kind of kid. And do you know what? I hope Anthony Yarde wins, you know, because he's a lovely lad, isn't he?
He is a nice lad.
He's a smashing lad.
He is a nice
lad. So
lad.
if you're seeing this, Anthony, I hope you win. We're wishing you all the very best for it, mate. But whatever happens, I think it's going to be a cracking fight.
Definitely.
Yo people, it's James DeGale. You're watching 662 Boxing, where champions are made.
This episode of Burf and Greavesie is sponsored by J.M. Clark. That's plant hire you can trust.